give them hell.
Approaching the drop zone.
Let's tango!
Hello everyone, I'm John Raffis and welcome to Treyarch. If you were able to join us for the multiplayer or blackout betas this summer, you became aware that frequent communication and transparency was very important to us. Always getting that feedback and letting you know how the game was progressing along the way. Today is really a special broadcast because it's an extension of that philosophy. Think of this as a Reddit post, but with pictures. So to do that and to catch you up on what we have been doing with multiplayer and blackout since the betas, we are joined by Tony Flame and Matt Schranz. And these guys are here to talk to us about multiplayer. In a little while, we will catch up with the Lord Vonderhaar to talk a little bit about blackout. But gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Are you stoked?
I'm super stoked to be able to talk to everybody, the fans, about what we've been up to. We've been having a ton of fun playing the game. What kind of changes we've been working on, and we actually have some footage to show as well.
I mean, the team's really been making quite a few updates.
Oh yeah, all over the place. Yep. New content, a lot of polishing touches on what's been there, and of course balance fixes. So there's lots to talk about.
All right. Well, I mean, since the beta, I mean, we've basically seen 8 additional maps or so previewed on our social channels. We've seen glimpses of new maps like Morocco and Militia. And so let's just get right into it and start talking weapons. Tony, tell us a little bit about what's in store on the weapons front.
Well, we've got a few new weapons coming in. One of them is going to be a new sniper rifle. So we know our fans love bolt-action sniper rifles. We've got another one to add to the selection. It's called the Outlaw.
Nice.
So the Outlaw its unique gameplay is going to be that it rechambers very quickly. So you can get that second shot on target if you got a hit marker or didn't end up finishing them off with that first shot. Now, of course, to compensate for that, it's going to be doing some lighter damage. You're going to have to hit higher up on the body to get that one-shot kill. It's a lot of fun to play with. Very different from the other sniper rifles.
All right. So, if I'm not mistaken, we saw Nomad running around with the Hades, correct?
Yeah, the Hades is a new LMG, and you saw it looked different. There were some fans who commented on what that looked like in the trailer. It's a very unique LMG in that it has a very high fire rate. It's actually kind of a run-and-gun LMG. It's meant to be fired from the hip. Its attachments support that. You're seeing the crossbar operator mod here, which allows you to get tight accuracy while you can move around at full speed. So that is what you were seeing in the trailer there with Nomad was actually the bullet canister. That's where the bullets go.
Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the team has also brought in a new 3-round burst pistol.
Of course, yes. That's been a staple for the last few Black Ops games. A 3-round burst pistol. It's called the RK7 Garrison.
Okay.
And that is going to be a classic high fire rate pistol. It's going to kind of sit in the middle between the Strife and the Mozu, have its own unique gameplay, so that'll really round out the pistol class. So there's a lot of good options there as a secondary.
Okay. Well, let's move on to weapon tuning. Tony, talk to us about sort of what's been going on in the tuning front.
So over the last several games, we've been reining in the way that our approach to tuning weapons, getting tighter and tighter balance, and that's continued. We feel like we have got a really good, tight balance across weapons for launch. Mm-hmm. It's different this time because attachments are different on every weapon, so that's caused us to look at things differently, but it's also caused us to look at things more carefully. So we're really happy with where we're going to be at launch. And of course, the first few weeks, we'll be looking at any outliers and dialing things in to get the balance dialed in just right for the remaining weeks of October and into November.
Well, one of the new things that we're seeing in Black Ops 4 is the inclusion of operator mods. And if I'm not mistaken, the team's made a couple updates on that front too.
Yeah, absolutely. There are new operator mods that were on weapons that weren't actually in the beta. We're still working on getting those functional. So the shotguns have some changes to their operator mods. We have the Stray Lock,
Okay.
which is the Koshka is a sniper rifle that the operator mod was available in the beta. At the time, we called it the Speed Center. We had to get a Russian name for it. It's a Russian sniper rifle, so we're calling it the Strelok now. And what that does is it gives snipers increased accuracy while they're going ADS. Now, this wasn't completely dialed in at the time of the beta, but we wanted to get it in players' hands because we know that the best snipers in the world are out there. They're not sitting here in the studio. And of course, they didn't disappoint by showing us how powerful they could be with that. So we've dialed it in. Now, rather than as soon as scoping in, getting that super tight accuracy, it's going to come in over the course of the scope-in period. So we'll be able to tune that and get that to just the right point so that it's balanced, and we'll see how players respond to it and get it dialed in just right. So it's going to be a lot more skill-based than it was in the beta.
Got it. Let's talk about the SOG 9mm operator mod.
Yeah, really excited about this one. So we've of course done dual wield before, but it's always a single attachment, and it's never really able to be as awesome as we want it to be. We want dual wield to be really powerful. We want you to feel really cool using it, and like you're standing a really good chance, and it's viable, and it's viable in a way that's balanced as well. So we were able to do that with operator mod. You have to pay extra points for it through the operator mod system, but we get it to make it extra powerful. We put it on the gun that it makes the most sense on, the SOG. It's the most compact submachine gun that we have in the game. So we have those dual-wield SOGs, which will be the operator mod for launch, and they're going to be a ton of fun to play with.
All right. Let's come back to the Outlaw and kind of take a look at sort of how it works with and without and with the operator mod. Why don't you talk us through what we see here?
So this is going to show how you've really got to get kind of a headshot or upper body shot to kill there, and you're going to have a single shot with the Outlaw at its base level with regular attachments. Now, when you put the operator mod on it, it's going to leverage that fast cycling nature of this, and it's going to turn into a 3-round burst sniper rifle. So you're going to be able to get 3 shots off very quickly. You hit 2 of those, and you're taking down your target. So it's very fun. It's very powerful. It's going to be balanced out by the fact that, as you can see there, you got limited rounds. So you're only going to get a few bursts before you're out of ammo. You're going to have to be on target. You're going to have to aim up. But of course, it's an operator mod, very powerful. You've got to spend into it and create a class.
Tell me about the MOG 12.
MOG 12 is we changed up its operator mod. So in the beta, the operator mod would wound players that it hit. We got feedback, and we had even internally, people were feeling like this was frustrating. I got shot once, and now I can't heal. So we changed it up so that the Dragon's Breath now hits the players, and it's going to do a damage over time that's going to burn them. So what that's going to force the player to do is make a decision. I just got hit. I have to heal immediately, or I'm going to die. And that makes it a lot more dynamic in terms of the back and forth between what the shotgun player is going to do at that point. They can press the action, and they know that either that player is going to just stick it out and take the damage and try and fight back, or they're going to have to heal if they want to survive. So that kind of cat and mouse gameplay is a lot more interesting, a lot more balanced. So the Dragon's Breath is going to be improved in that way.
Well, also leans into sort of the tactical nature of the game.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. NVIR optic?
Yes, it's a new optic. It was not seen in the beta. It's our night vision and thermal combination. So there's some maps where enemies can take advantage of the lighting and hide in the shadows. This is going to help you find them in those maps. So it's available on a variety of guns. You can use it on different maps to combat that tactic. So it rounds out the optic selection for Black Ops 4.
Outstanding. All right, so quite a bit happening on the weapons front. How about we talk score streaks? Matt, where are we at?
Well, to start off, we didn't want to kind of put all our cards on the table in the beta.
I had to save a little bit.
Well, you got to save a little bit.
Yeah.
Leave one more. So we have 3 new score streaks that will be in the lineup for launch.
Okay.
That's going to be the drone squad.
Okay. Well, here, let's take a look at the drone squad. Tell us what we're looking at here.
So the drone squad is a squad of drones, as the name might have led on.
That's a squad of drones.
Yes.
Squad of drones.
Yes,
Got it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Let's play on this.
So you'll see
Yes.
there, you activate the drone squad, and you can see the lead drone there, and then the lead drone will have 2 little winged buddy drones. So this is a mid-tier score streak. It's going to sit around the sentry gun and attack chopper level. We're still kind of working through how many kills we want this thing to get per use. But it's fun. You call it in. It's you've got 3 drones that will follow you throughout the map and help you take down any enemies that may try to put up a fight against you.
Got it. But that's not all. The team also included the new Sniper's Nest score streak.
Right.
Score streak.
It's not a snore streak.
There we go.
This is the opposite of snore streak.
I think I just got my new player ID right there. That's
So there we see the Sniper's Nest. Sniper's Nest are two professional snipers aboard a helicopter. You call this support in, and they're going to fly in. You're going to have a sniper on each door of the helicopter with a high-powered 50 cal sniper, and it's one shot, one kill. They're going to fly around and rain down from above. On the ground, we've done quite a bit of work to make that as as least frustrating as possible, as they can be as a one-shot kill. So we've got some sniper glint when they target you. We've got lasers on their snipers. So really, when this thing gets called out by the enemy team, you don't want to be caught outside, and you really don't want to be caught outside not moving, because if you're not moving and they have line of sight on you, they're going to lay waste.
yeah.
I think we'll be following up with the YouTube channel for those snipers. Make sure
Yeah.
to smash that like button
Yeah,
for those guys.
Yeah, they each do have a YouTube channel. The
Do they
snipers.
really?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Great.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, let's talk about their Twitter handles here in a second. And then there's a popular score streak that's making its return.
That is the Dart. The Dart was a favorite of mine and many others in Black Ops 3. So we brought it back. Slightly different visuals. We've some functionality changes. We wanted it in Black Ops 4 essentially to kind of be like a flying RCXD. So it's you can fly it around. You can pull right trigger to detonate it whenever you want to, or you can impact to detonate. And then another addition that we've added for Black Ops 4 is the ability to speed boost the Dart. So it's I loved it in Black Ops 3 because it's super fun to fly. It's still super fun to fly, and it's also great to take out score streaks. So you see a UAV or an attack chopper flying around, just throw that bad boy out and shoot for the moon.
And the team's also made some updates to score streaks that we've seen, such as the RCXD.
Yeah, the RCXD, we got a lot of feedback on that from the beta, that it was a little difficult to handle. I was having some trouble going upstairs. Battery might have been low. I don't know. We charged it up a bit, worked on the camera. So as you can see here, we've got a much smoother ride for launch day. And overall, it's just going to be a much more dependable score streak, as we would expect.
Got it. But that's not all.
It is not.
There's also been some updates to the gunship.
The gunship, yeah. So the gunship was performed fairly well in the beta. It didn't quite hit our targets as far as how many kills we'd like to see that thing get, or how long it's active. So we've made a slight tweak, and we've increased the duration that it cannot be locked onto after its flares are deployed. So for context there, if you target a gunship with your lock-on launcher and fire at it, that first rocket is going to cause the flares to deploy. And while those flares are still deployed from the gunship, you can't lock onto it again. I believe in the beta we had that at 5 seconds. We bumped that up a little bit more. As the highest score streak, we wanted to make sure that the person that earns that score streak gets enough time in there. So it's going to be a little bit longer before you can fire that second rocket at it.
Fair enough. But there have also been some smaller changes to the Mantis and the Strafe Run, which is now called the
Thresher, yes. So I'll start with the Mantis. We've improved the targeting logic for the Mantis quite a bit. So we did do that between weekend 1 and weekend 2. We've made further improvements. We've also, we saw quite a few videos of the Mantis struggling to get upstairs and our bumpy terrain. So we've worked with the map team and on our side with the vehicle team, and for me specifically tuning friction and speed. So we want to make sure that the Mantis can go anywhere in the map and not have any struggle. So just like the RCXD, improvements overall should be a much smoother experience for that. Moving on to the Thresher, which was previously the artist formerly known as the Strafe Run.
Thresher is just going to be a symbol in the next game.
Yes, we'll work on it. So for the Thresher, again, didn't quite hit our targets. So with that, we've further improved some of the flight paths throughout the map. We actually go in and handcraft the flight pattern for the Thresher in each map. So we went through and kind of fine-tuned those to make sure that the path that it takes through the map is the most optimal. So we want to make sure that it has vision on the play space. And then on top of that, we've done some additional tuning on the rocket speeds, its chain gun speeds, and how much damage those are going to do.
If you could share how valuable sort of feedback has been on Reddit and Twitter, I mean, just the degree to which that has contributed to changes.
It's valuable across the board. I mean, we have, like I was saying before about our processes, we have a really sophisticated analytics pipeline. So we have all of the facts, but what we don't necessarily have is how people feel about those. So we have to understand kind of the emotional side of how people are reacting to what's going on. Sometimes we might have something that maybe looks underpowered, right? But people actually love it. And that's great for us because that means we don't need to mess with the balance in order for people to love it. And of course, vice versa too, right? Where people are having a big problem with something, regardless of the data. We've got to address that because it's important. Ultimately, our players, their experience and how they feel about the game is what's important. So regardless of what the objective numbers say, we have to take that into account. And also, all the positive feedback's great too. It helps keep the team motivated. Yeah, keep that coming. You know, we have a really passionate team here across hundreds of people, and reading that, you know, and reading the positivity that's kind of come out of the different betas has been a big bolster for our team. It's really, I've just seen it around the office. Everyone's really happy to have worked so hard on something that people are enjoying. So we love that too. We love both the criticisms, of course. And you know, if people are enjoying it, we love hearing those nice words as well.
It also seemed to me that, like, during the multiplayer and blackout betas, that this was probably, I don't know, it was a renaissance of constructive feedback. Like I've never seen so much positive feedback during a period.
Yeah. Like Tony said, I've said it to people throughout the office, but the kind words and the positive feedback really has energized us and kind of allowed us to really march hard towards the October 12th. We've been working on this game for a long time. It's as is the case with development, it's went through changes and you can get a little tired near the end, but those words they really do mean a lot and they've helped tremendously.
You got like 5.5 hours of sleep last night, so you're
right. But I had I had an energy drink, so I'm good now.
All right.
Just one more thing to add to that. Even the back and forth debates that are going on online where there's different opinions out there, we look at those too. And sometimes there's a point buried in those that we can catch and that we may not have been thinking of.
Yeah.
So just all of the communication online, that's great. We really take it seriously and spend a lot of time going through it all so that we can make the best game that we can make for our fans.
All right. Let's get back to score streaks and get to the chopper. Tell me about the attack chopper method.
The attack chopper was not where we expected it to be in the beta. We made some improvements between weekend 1 and weekend 2. Still didn't hit it. I think we've hit it now.
Yeah.
This puts the attack in attack chopper. It's some might say devastating. I don't want to.
Devastating score streak.
I don't, we'll see. I'll put it out there.
Okay.
But in the play tests, I hear people are freaking out and say who's got a launcher now instead of whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with where it's at. We'll put it out on October 12th and assess and go from there.
There have been some modifications made to how the strike team behaves.
Their navigation was a little less than stellar, so we spent a lot of time working on improving their navigation. That also goes hand in hand with the maps because they do. They have to work with the maps hand in hand. So we've smoothed out a lot of the maps and their logic. So that, again, another one should be a much more smoother experience, and those guys are going to go out there and get kills for you. This one is it's an easy one to swing too hard either way because it's 2 strike team members on the ground. Some might say you would expect them to be the same as a player health. But if that's the case, then they're not going to be, a high tier score streaks or higher tiered score streak that we want. So we're playing around with the numbers still. We're going to put it out there and assess, just like the weapons. We're going to check the analytics, see if it's hitting our goals, and if not, we'll work to get there.
Let's move on to perks. If I'm not mistaken, there's a new one in the mix.
There is a new perk.
Skulker.
Skulker, yes, Skulker. Skulker is one that we introduced in the Blackout beta. People loved it so much. We loved it internally so much, and he said, you know what? Let's add it to multiplayer. So we previously that was an attribute that was found on an attachment. I believe it
Stock
was
2. Yeah, stock
right?
2.
So I said, we said, Tony, we're going to steal this. Sorry. Thank you, Tony.
The
for-
Skulkers won. Yes, the Skulkers won. But that's we had a really cool idea for that. So one of the new features that's kind of been fighting what we call drop shotting is that when you go prone in Black Ops 4, you put your hand down, take your hand off the gun, so you can't stay ADS or aiming. So now Stock 2 is going to allow you to stay fully aiming while you go prone. And we've also actually there were some bugs about changing stances and being accurate. So we've actually fixed those as well. So Stock 2 is going to be great now. If you're a drop shotter, we've got an attachment for you. We've got you covered.
Awesome.
Yep. I still don't like drop shotters though. So.
Well, they've got it now. They've got to spend into it. They got to get the right gun. They
which
got
is
to
great.
pay for
which
it.
is great. I love it when we're able to find play styles that some may not like, some love. There's obviously people that love drop shotting and actually design for it. So that's an example. It's great. But Skulker, yeah, it's going to be a perk too, in with the other mobility perks. We have tuned it down a bit for multiplayer from Blackout. In Blackout, it's you have to find this perk. It's limited duration, so it can be a little bit more powerful. So in multiplayer, Skulker will allow you to crouch walk at about the same speed that you can stand and walk at the same time. So it's a great addition, and on top of that, you've also got the increased prone move speed.
And there have been some updates to Team Link.
Yes, that's pulling up above that is the Fog of War conversation. We mentioned that in our beta postmortem that we were going to transition away from the full circle reveal by default and then move to a cone reveal, which we've done, and we've had really positive feedback internally. But we believe in the circle reveal, and we saw that when looking at the data for Team Link, it just wasn't there. So we decided to actually move the full reveal to Team Link, and I believe that's really going to make that a competitive perk now.
Maximum situational awareness.
Right. If you want to know where people are and you want to have situational awareness, Team Link is going to be one you're going to want to take. Along with Engineer to know where enemy score streaks and equipment are, Tracker to know where enemy footsteps are.
All right. A couple updates to Tactical Mask.
Tactical Mask. We've made some slight changes to that just on the resistance side. For example, here you'll see someone with Tactical Mask running through a razor wire. You are going to take much less damage. For example, when you enter a razor wire, again, we're still, we're still working through some things, but we have kind of tweaked that to make sure that it's where we want it to be. Tracker, I'll get into that. I don't know if this is further down in your notes, but I'm gonna bust
Bring it in. Let's do it.
So Tracker, again, it's in the past game, like in Black Ops 3, it's not very popular. It's not very high performer, but the people that use it love it. That said, it was just a little too low for us. We want it to be a bit more competitive. So we gave it some thought, and we've added a little icon. It's the eyeball right now. So when you have Tracker on and you are revealed on the enemy's Fog of War, you will see that little eyeball icon, which I love. I always want to know when I'm revealed or when an enemy can see me. So that's the perfect perk for that.
Now, what does that work for exactly?
So, as with everything, we've set it up with all of our knobs and dials.
It's a word.
It's
a word.
something. So right now, if you're revealed by enemy UAV, you're going to get the eyeball popped up. If you're revealed on the enemy Fog of War, whether it's Cone or Team Link Circle, you're going to get the eyeball pop up. If you're revealed inside of an enemy Recon Sensor Dart, you're going to see the eyeball. And if you're revealed on enemy Recon Vision Pulse, you're going to know with the eyeball. Obviously, we also have the red highlight that's on you.
Firing your weapon?
Firing your weapon, yeah. So anytime you are going to be seen on the enemy's Fog of War right now, you will be given that eyeball. We'll put that out there. It's a new one for us. we'll get some feedback on it. We'll check the data on it, and then see where we need to adjust.
The next thing on our list, and probably one of the most classic examples for why you have a beta in the first place, is we had a few dips in performance along the way, but those have been addressed.
We did, yeah, absolutely. Again, hats off to the Maps team, but I know Gridlock, which we can see here, we definitely saw some performance dips, and I believe even between weekend 1 and weekend 2, as I've said numerous times before, just we made some strides there, but the Maps team has just went through every single map, top to bottom, optimizing wherever we can, whether it be the effects, the fire, and then additionally, not just the Maps team. We've got a large, very smart team of engineers here who are going through day in and day out and seeing where we can save some milliseconds and shave off this and shave off that. So it's been a huge focus for the studio as a whole to make sure that we have a very smooth game.
The menu interface was a big one during the beta as well. Are we able to use the D-pad to navigate through our menus?
Yes.
There we go.
Need a prop.
You fix the spawns?
I'm going to check with Colin Overholt. I assume no, of course. I'm actually very, very, very happy with the spawns right now. We've even up until last night, we're still iterating on game modes and maps, and I'll give you a great example of domination on Morocco. We play test internally all the time. We were seeing that spawns were a little too sticky and pulling you to your flag and sending you down paths that didn't path to be as optimally as we'd like. So we made some changes. Felt 2,000 times better.
Great.
So yes, obviously we're always going to have to work through spawns, and there's going to be different scenarios that people get into. But I'm very happy with them right now, and I hope that people are happy with them next Friday.
Really winding down here, last on our list is time associated with being able to heal.
We've actually done, there's quite a lot of changes in there we've made. We've made sure that when you switch to heal and when you switch back to your gun comes out quicker. You switch to heal faster. So the whole process is smoother and faster than before across the different weapons. It's part of the tactical nature of the game, right? After a firefight, so a lot of times you have to both reload and heal. So we want to make sure that those could happen smoothly, and if you chose one or both, that it felt like the right amount of time. And in terms of stim shot, we saw stim shot maybe being a little bit too crutch of a gear.
Sure.
So we've dialed that back a little bit. So stim shot's a little bit more reasonable, so that you can't, the guy who you're just going to fight with isn't going to heal instantly, right? There's going to be some time there. As well as the normal heal will be a little bit more balanced. So those have come a little bit closer together, which will give people a chance to open up the breadth in the gear options, as well as just making healing in general feeling better in the game.
Well, guys, that's really kind of the end of the laundry list. We've gone through quite a bit. Anything that you want to add just to kind of wrap it up today?
Yeah, one last thing actually. We talked a bit about weapons and operator mods earlier, but I did want to address the community feedback that we got about weapons from the beta and what we've done since then.
Great point.
So there's a couple big points that we got from the community. First big one is always an important factor in Call of Duty balance: assault rifles versus submachine guns. So in weekend 1, we saw submachine guns were a little bit more dominant, and we made some tweaks. Minor tweaks, really. We actually didn't think, we thought they were going to get us right to the point that we wanted. Weekend 2, assault rifles were quite a bit stronger. So we saw that shift in balance. It's actually really good because we know exactly which changes we made to make that balance. It means the balance is very tight right now. Little subtle changes can affect that. So we know what we did. We're gonna find that middle ground so that the balance between assault rifles and submachine guns is right where we want it for launch. One of the standout guns from the beta was the ABR, and we saw people doing really well with that. Now that gun was intended for very highly skilled players to excel with. In the right hands, it was supposed to be amazing, and it was. But it was also amazing in just about anyone's hands, and that's not what we want.
I saw John using it.
I know. There's people
No,
around
you
the studio who are not supposed to be doing so good at that gun. So yeah, we're taking that down a few notches. We don't want that thing to be overpowered again at launch, so we're going to make sure that it's not, and then we'll get it to where it needs to be. Hopefully it's there on day 1. If not, we'll get it there shortly afterwards. And then lastly, sniper rifles. were actually overly effective in the beta. They were just a little bit off target, and we are trying to figure out why, especially the Koshka. And it turns out we found
Because I was shooting it.
yeah, so one of the things, we work on Call of Duty a lot. Sometimes people call out like, hey, how come this thing that used to work before is, in a beta, like it's not, because these whole systems are constantly changing. The foundation, the systems that we use to make the game, the tech is constantly changing. So in this case, we changed the ways in which our character models come together and the way that they're built, and that ended up exposing a bug about hitboxes. So it was a somewhat rare bug. It wasn't happening all the time. About 10% of the time, sniper rifles, there was a location on the body where they were killing where they weren't supposed to kill. So sniper rifles were a little bit too good. It was happening on both console and PC. So we fixed that to get the sniper rifle balanced. And then even beyond that, on PC, we're doing some specific sniper rifle tuning. Obviously, on a mouse and keyboard, it's a lot easier to snipe. It's different than console. So we've got to get that dialed in for PC. We're looking closely at that for post-beta and launch. One last little tidbit. LMGs, we're always trying to find a good spot for LMGs. And in the beta, people didn't seem to be digging the LMG too much. It's a tough weapon class to get right from weapon balance. We want it to be powerful, but we don't want it to be too much like any other weapon class. So one of the things, we've got a couple strong LMGs coming into the game, which we talked about earlier, the Hades and the VKM. But one of the new attributes that we're going to give to LMGs is that you are going to have very little to almost no flinch while you're ADS with an LMG. It's a very heavy gun. We want you to be able to stay on target, right? So this lets LMGs have kind of their own niche that no other gun has. Once you post up, you stop, you get into ADS, and you got that gun up there. Now, if anyone messes with you, that's their mistake, right? It's going to take you a little bit more time as an LMG user to move around and to get into position, and that's where SMGs and AR and other weapon classes have the advantage. So we're really excited about how that's been playing out. Can't wait to get the community on it. If there's people who feel like any sort of amount of flinch is too much for them, then they might want to try LMGs.
Nice. Well, I thought we were done with our list. It turns out they're
Never done.
No, we're never done. No, yeah, and there's certainly a heck of a lot more that the team's been working on that we haven't talked about today. That people are just going to have to play the game to find out for themselves.
Any last words on multiplayer?
Can't wait to play it.
All right. Cool.
I know. I can't wait to play it. When's the next play test? We've been having a blast. Yeah.
Awesome. Tony, Matt, thank you very much for coming by. We are going to talk Blackout with Lord Vonderhaar shortly. But first, we're going to take a little break. See you in a minute.
Approaching the drop zone.
Locked and loaded. Good to go. Lighting him up.
Inbound airdrop detected.
You know me. I don't like anyone.
Further collapse expected. Evac to safe zone.
All right, welcome back. Now that we're sufficiently pumped after having watched the Blackout trailer, I have with me, fresh off of a European press tour, the one, the only, Lord David Vonderhaar. David, welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Doing all right. How about
Man,
yourself? Studio design director.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Is that? I thought you changed that title.
I am Dungeon Master.
What did they do to you in Sweden?
Man, Sweden's amazing. It's amazing. I'd still be there if I could, but they said you got to come back and do this thing.
Yeah, well, there's some things to get to. So we're catching up on all things Blackout, all the updates made since the beta. And we are ticking down the list one at a time, and I think that everyone wants us to start with armor.
Armor, right off the bat?
Right off the bat.
Fans love talking about armor. So, look, we take armor feedback seriously the same way we did in the MP beta, and there's a lot to talk about here. So let me just sort of go through all the details, if you don't mind. We have level 3 armor spawning with a reduced rate overall in the world. So you're going to find this inside of care packages and supply drops,
Okay.
and mostly there. Now, you can still find it in the world, but it's going to be pretty rare. But we also did a lot of tuning. But the sort of the new thing that no one's seen yet that I'm pretty excited to show people is when you have armor on, there's above your health bar is like the state of the armor.
Sure.
Think of it as a health bar for the armor, for lack of a better term. So you have real kind of microscopic detailing on the state of your armor. Now, the icon's still there and the icon still degrades, but if you want to know how well you're doing, or you could see, hey, my teammate doesn't have any armor, or hey, man, your armor's busted up, let's find you some new armor. And that's just sort of the start of where armor goes from here. We have a lot of great ideas, and I think we're going to talk about them a little later in the show.
All right. So let's move on to muzzle flash.
Yeah. Okay, muzzle flash. So the fans gave me a hard time, let's say.
An abundance of constructive feedback.
An abundance of constructive feedback. So, did we do anything to muzzle flashes in first person for release? Yes, we did.
All right.
Okay, so look, let's talk about what this means. So, we did muzzle flashes and we finalized them with a lot of improved visibility. So, I misunderstood that question, to be fair. I thought they were talking about third-person muzzle flashes. They were talking about first-person muzzle flashes. Now, we don't want muzzle flashes to impact your field of view, right? That's not something that could be not what we want. What we want is for people to see your muzzle flashes when you're in a dark room. We don't necessarily want the muzzle flashes to get in your way. Muzzle flashes, like all art assets, go through a couple of different iterations. And some guns have muzzle brakes, right? So a muzzle brake's cool because it controls sort of where the flash comes from. And there's the realism of how a muzzle brake works, and then there's game realism. And we had to kind of figure out the differences between those two so they weren't inside your faces. So they're not as bright overall. They don't have as much opacity, or they have more opacity so you can kind of see correctly. And overall, I think fans can be pretty happy. I don't think muzzle flashes are going to get in your way of combat. That's not something we would do on purpose. And those will be in on day one.
Awesome, awesome. So there seemed to be another concern about how dark the screen got when you were hurt, and it seems as if the complaint was similar when you were taking damage within the collapse. What sort of updates has the team made on this front?
Thanks for asking me about this one, because in the beta, when you were outside, say in the collapsed area, you were getting what we would call a damage tick. So it's like tick, 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 and it was a lot. It was intense. That's what we would call a status effect. Now, it's sort of like being flashed or blinded in that you have to do something special for every different type of kind of damage you can take. Now, in the case of the beta, the one that we were using was simply the same thing that happens when you get hit by a bullet. Well, you're not getting hit by a bullet, so why do you have directional indication ammos, right? So that presentation was the wrong presentation for being outside in sort of the collapsed area, but we did something specific. So now when you're out there, you won't have the direction indicators. We actually brought down sort of how much the darkness that it would hit with you, how much red there was overall. So we heard about this loud and clear on Reddit, so it's a good opportunity for us to say, we know about that. We knew going into the beta that we still had work to do on that, but that's all fixed up now. So when you're outside and you're in the collapsed area and you're taking damage, it'll feel appropriate to being outside and won't feel like someone's hitting you with a bullet every second and a half or something.
You know, it's super quick. I talked to Tony and Matt about this, and I'd love to get your thoughts before we kind of head down the list of other things. Tell me about how important feedback was for you from the player community, just sort of what that really meant to you and the team, and essentially how that helped steer things, not only during the beta, but in this time since.
Yeah, so particularly since, right? So this is the best part. So we have a long list of things we want to get to.
Yeah.
Right? There's features in the game that we still had work to do on. there are features that we didn't have in the game yet that we had planned. So what the beta data tells us, and what the feedback from the beta data tells us, is it really helps sort of prioritize that work for us, because at the end of the day, you just have a bunch of stuff to design and a bunch of stuff to construct and a bunch of stuff to get in the game. The order of events or operations, it's not, it's what we think is best, but once you get the community involved, then it becomes, oh, well, obviously we should maybe take this one that's currently 7 on our list and move it up to 3. So that was particularly helpful since the beta. And then just more macro than that, of course, is what about the stuff you don't know about?
Yeah.
Right? It's a giant game, right? We look at everything. We spend a lot of time trying to think about everything very carefully, but it's very possible that you just might not catch something that, someone who's played back to back to back to back calls out. Like, we don't play test the way people play. I mean, there are fans who didn't go home or go to school or they just played Blackout from the time it was turned on to the time it was turned off. And that's something that we don't get to do because we have to actually make the thing. So it's good. It's good to see what kind of bubbles up.
Yeah.
And I really love how the mood of it kind of shifts over the week and kind of see what stays with people. Because first impressions, man, are important, but they don't always tell the truth, right? So it's good to have the first impression. It's good to see if that still resonates. I know you want to play more beta, but we're get the game out soon.
Yeah. Well, even talking to Tony and Matt, there also seemed like there was a great deal of very positive feedback too. Everything was just incredibly constructive.
Yeah, I found, and by the way, the work that you guys have put in on the social and community team, thank you guys, to sort of get this stuff organized has been super helpful. Like, it lets me focus on solving the problems and not trying to find the problems to solve or make sure I don't miss anything. So as a team, we're very grateful for all the investment that the studio's put in to being able to do this and to talk to fans, just talk, don't have to overthink, and finding those things. So many thanks to all of you who are helping out with that.
Let's get back to the list. I know one of the things that fans pointed out during the beta was headphone use, particularly in the staging area.
Yeah, gosh. Go ahead, let's talk audio. So we did a lot of bug fixing since the beta. So I think really, let me talk about the big one, right? The big fix. So there was this problem that sound occlusion was not working. And let me describe sound occlusion to you. You and I are very close together, and we should sound like we're very close together. And occlusion is the idea, let's put up an imaginary wall. I'm not sounding quite as loud to you.
We're in a room with carpeting and ceiling tiles. There's a certain...
So you'd have this weirdness where a guy directly above you would be closer to you, but he's also got a floor or ceiling.
It's like there was a wall here, and then there's some dude on the other side of that wall on a conference call.
That's not ever happens. It's our live stream studio. So that wasn't working right.
Yeah.
Right? So guys above you would sound close to you. And they were technically close to you, but there was a ceiling between you. So the audio should be hit by that. So the guys who were, you can see would not be as loud as the guy above you. So that had to get fixed, and it got fixed. But that's not all. Lots of tuning. So among the sound occlusion, we made it so that players who are on your team, their footsteps are naturally quieter. We did a lot of work on dead silence. We did a lot of work on awareness. And then mostly, right, the game wasn't done. You cannot do a final audio mix on the game until it's further along. So, the final audio mix sets that thing. I know what you're talking about. When I get into the pregame state, I think 99 people want to come punch me. So that was loud.
But what about in the game?
No, they can't. They can't do that. I'm too good. It's too good. So look, then finally, this one's important. So we've done this in the last game. It's in this one. Go into your audio. Look at your options for audio and settings, because we always do different sort of mix presets, including a headphone mix. And we know a lot of people play on gaming headphones. Look, I can tell you the audio department here is super serious, and they reference and mix at reference volumes. I mean, I don't know how any of them can still hear. It is loud. And you're going to find a mix preset that's really going to work for your play style, and there'll be a headphone setting there too.
I'll be honest, I was never really into presets, and Jake turned me on to some of the audio presets.
Is Jay the same guy who's on a conference call that's too loud?
If you hear that muffled example of occlusion coming from the other side.
Let's go get that guy.
But yeah, check him out. That's good advice. All right, speaking of additional tuning, pickups. Pickups was a big one.
Yeah. So of course, there's a lot of things going on here. You can see in this video that you're not looking down anymore. So you can just run through. You can pick up items as fast as you can. There's currently, I think it's going to make launch, hopefully, a setting that allows you to, just pick it up with a tap and not have to hold it. We're actually even debating if that should be the default and holding should be the option. It's a conversation. It's in the game. I've seen it working, and I think it's going to be there on day one for you. And I think that's one of the largest things that came up is how come I can't just tap? And of course, I've been on record with this. I'm like, well, have you tried to be in a gunfight and need to reload? And you can't because you happen to be strafing around a high density area, and that can be frustrating on its own. I had that experience. So it cannot be any faster as a hold, and it's at least a game option. And we're still talking about whether it's actually be the default and what else to do. I mean, we know that people want to play Blackout. They want the ability to customize what that experience is like for them. That's a simple way of putting it. So we're going through that in our brains, trying to figure out all the places, not just with item and inventory management, but that's a suggestion that was direct from the community, and we've directly dealt with that by putting it in the options menu, and then we'll see if it's even the default and what other things we can do to improve that experience.
All right. While we're on the subject of how you use your hands, ladders. Let's talk about how easy it is to get on and off ladders.
Have you seen the new ladder stuff? Roll the tape, guys. This stuff is really great. So actually, many thanks to Matt Schrontz and Kathan. These are two important people who really drove this experience through. So look, you got some really tall places in Blackout, right? So the ladders are more important, especially coming down them. So it's a lot easier to get on ladders. You sort of head towards them, and if you're looking at them correctly, then you'll snap onto them. You can slide down them fast. So the ladder experience is much improved over the beta. And I think Blackout fans need that because, there's 3 and 4 and even 5-story ladders in Blackout.
Next on our list, fall damage.
Yeah. Whoops. Okay. Fall damage. That was not what we wanted to do. That's fixed. I found, I got this video, this guy showed me he was just jumping off of a rock. So he's running through the turbine area.
Yeah.
Jumps up on the rock, jumps off the rock, jumps up on the rock, jumps off the rock, and takes fall damage. And I went, oh, sorry. So that was a little aggressive.
Put that on the list.
Put that on the list. That was actually a very easy fix. It's done.
Yeah. There were during the beta, people had expressed interest in wanting to see a little more information on their teammates' kills and downs. What have we done? What has the team done on that front?
3 things. Let me take you through, and these are all in your HUD. So actually, when you're playing, so the first thing was downs weren't even in the what we call obituary, what the fans sometimes call the kill feed. Same thing. So when someone's downed, you'll actually see that they down them. That's what we call obituary updates. Then we also have the HUD notifications. Those are in the bottom center of your screen, a HUD notification. And when you down somebody or kill somebody, or if somebody else cleans up the guy that you put into the down state, it'll tell you right there that they were downed. It'll tell you right there that they were killed. It even tells you how much damage you did on them when you put them in the down state. So obituary / kill feed, HUD notifications. And then this is the big one that was trying to get in for a while. So in the top right corner of your screen, there's a bunch of stats. The 2 stats that are most important in this case are kills and cleanups. So a kill. I knock you into the down state. You're crawling around. Somebody comes along and finishes you off. I get the kill because I put you in the down state. A cleanup is what you did to that guy. There's a guy in the down state. Doesn't matter how he got there. You put the final shots on him. Kills and cleanups, those are kind of the 2 principal stats. You're always going to know how many kills you have. You're always going to know how many cleanups you have. So you're always going to feel rewarded for eliminating somebody from the game, whether it's actually a proper kill credit or just a cleanup credit. And those stats are the 2 primary gameplay stats. Then, of course, there's how many players are alive, and then if someone's spectating you. So those 4 things will appear in the top right-hand corner of your screen. So between obituary / kill feed, the HUD notifications in the center, and then the stats in the top right corner of your HUD, those 3 things are going to really help people understand and give them what they need to know. Did I kill that guy? Did I not kill that guy? Did you kill him? Right?
And all of this moves us in the direction of updates made to the after action report.
Yeah, so very important. The after action report was something that we worked on a lot, sort of post the beta and before the ship. And all these stats are reflected back to you at the end of the game in the after action report. And what you can do with that one is, in fact, show what your team also did. How many times did you have this question in mind? How many kills did you get? Right? So you don't have to ask that question because you're going to be able to just check the after action report because you're after the action. So that's what happens when you die. Really, when you're eliminated from the game, you can look at that stuff along with other things. But that one, those stats and your team's performance will be reflected there on launch.
Well, if post-launch is, or if beta is any indication of how my post-launch will go, I'll have plenty of opportunity to spend time looking at
I'll
that.
take screenshots of you getting 0 kills.
You won't have to wait long for one. All right, so talk to me a little bit about merits and leveling up.
All right, let's talk about how progression works in Blackout.
Yep.
So this is also inside of your after action report. It's one of the tabs. And let me explain merits at a very high level. Merits is the equivalent of a leveling system for Blackout, right? So you earn merits for kills. You get 10 merits for every kill. And then you also earn merits for how well you did. So a solo game, if you place in the top 15, you get 50. In a duo game, if you place in the top 10, you get 50. And then in quads, I believe it's top 5, you get 50. So the way to rank up in Blackout is a performance-based leveling system. You cannot just rank up by playing. You have to perform well. You have to get kills, or you have to place. And those are how you rank up. And then there are 80 levels. Every 20 levels is when you actually get a new character unlock. And it's cool because these characters are Blackout characters. So, of course, we have all the character unlocks that we've been talking about and the missions that you do to get them. But these are Blackout-specific rewards for those hardcore Blackout players who are going to go through this ranking progression, performance-based measurement system, get their kills, get their placements, and then they'll have those kind of characters that, that they're going to unlock, and they're neat. And I don't want to give you too much intel about what they look like, because that's some creator's video waiting to happen, no doubt.
Well, I mean, let's kind of riff on the characters a little bit, because I mean, this plays into sort of this larger idea of celebrating history heritage. There's a lot of Black Ops history in Blackout. Let's talk about zombies a little bit.
We have zombies?
Rumor has it.
I love the zombies.
Tell me a little bit about how the mystery box is going to be working.
Okay, so if you're a Zombies fan, I don't have to explain how mystery boxes work, but let me explain how Zombies supply stashes work, which is the zombie version of a mystery box in Blackout. So you have to go to a zombie destination. You have to eliminate all the zombies in that destination, and then that'll unlock the supply stash / mystery box for you. And you got about 90 seconds to get through it and loot everything out of it. Or if the map is collapsing on you, then the collapse will also reset that box. So eliminate every zombie in the destination, get to the box as fast as you can, take all the things that you want, and then go about winning the game.
There we go. I know that the team has also been hard at work on a number of bug fixes. What can you tell us? What sort of updates do you have on that front?
So many things gone on here. So, not even involving the feature work that we have. There's you can't die when there was this video. We saw a video from somebody jumped out of the helicopter.
Yeah.
And it managed to hit the other helicopter. Whoops. That was not on purpose. We fixed that. We also we did some tuning changes too. We actually, it takes twice as long to revive somebody as it used to, but they also can crawl faster. So we had this sort of inverse thing where you could revive faster, but the guy couldn't move very fast. So we thought it was more interesting when the guy could kind of, try to help himself by climbing out of the way. But it takes a little longer to revive him as a result of that stuff. We also, this one's cool. People asked about that. There's different hit markers for if you're shooting at someone in a vehicle, if you're hitting the vehicle versus hitting the person. That could be kind of a frustrating experience. And we saw how much fun people had shooting people out of vehicles. A lot of videos came out about that. Even some COD Nation stuff, I think, is happening with that.
Oh, the COD Top plays. There's the guy that jumped out of the helicopter, wingsuited into the trunk or trailer of one of the trucks, shot the guy from the back. That was pretty epic.
Yeah, I don't know if we can legally say the name of his video. If I can't wear my shirt, I probably can't wear my I'm Batman. Right. So, and then this one, Windows. Bullets are not going to be stopped by Windows. So that's just a bug that got fixed. So, and then these are just some examples of tuning and bugs that we had to get fixed.
Yeah.
And that's what betas are for.
So,
Thank you.
But I mean, to that point, the beta has gotten us from all the way up till launch. It's allowed the team to really dial some things in.
And they still are.
And they still are. And that's not going to stop after day one.
No.
But much tighter now. What is on your and the team's wish list for after day one? Not for day one. What are you planning after?
After. So there's a healthy dose of stuff that I've been eager to talk about. One of the things that we've not been able to talk about, which is exclusive to you and I hanging out today, is what happens next.
Yeah.
And there's different information about that. There's different requests, but I can tell you the team's wish list. So we heard from fans that they want to be able to redeploy right from the game, so you don't have to go back to the lobby necessarily. So there's some work to do to figure out how to do that correctly, but I think that's a good wish list item. Even more planned improvements to looting, in particular the scavenging process. So the supply stashes interface on consoles, not quite what it needs to be. And we have a full design for that. It's on the schedule. So when you're looting somebody else, they need a better multi-user kind of experience. So it's a little weird. Like I'm about to pick up this thing, maybe level 3 armor, and then you're also using it. So I'm like looking at it and it disappears on me, and it's kind of, and then it moves the thing over. Then I end up picking up the wrong thing. Not my best work, but we have some improvements there that are coming. Way more intel about how you died and are eliminated, right? So we have the kill cam, but you don't know what gun he had necessarily. You don't know what did he have dead silence? I couldn't hear him, but he had dead silence active. Things of that nature, stuff that multiplayer has. We have to figure out the right way to do that in Blackout. We're also working on what it looks like when you're deploying from a wingsuit, because you can move so fast to the ground. You don't have a lot of time to look around to see if other people are hot dropping with you. So the effects that you see that play off that character, I'm going to go review that this afternoon, see how that's coming along. We recently gave ourselves the ability to tune armor in new ways too. So this is not going to be on day one. We're still need to make sure we use our new powers correctly, but the new capability allows us to change the hit location table. So this is a hit location, this is a hit location, right? So maybe we can cut some armor that has more nuance to what it protects.
Sure.
In addition to all the nerfs that we did. And then we have this idea that I'm very excited about. Hopefully we can get some feedback on you guys on Reddit from this one. We're actually discussing, rather than having the armor be something that you get from a supply stash of a dead player that's damaged, having the armor break into what we would call armor shards or armor pieces. So level 3 armor could never be worn by somebody if it's damaged. It would just be pieces of armor that you can then use to repair your own armor. So armor's important. It's important to the game loop. It's important to the mechanics, and I think we'll be tweaking that thing and working with y'all to find the right combination of stuff. And that's what makes working on Blackout fun. It's never done really. It's just like this constant evolution. So many ideas here. It's the one great thing about working on Blackout. There is no shortage of ideas.
HUD, anything?
Same thing. HUD is a good example of something that, as a feature, would be great if you could, especially as a streamer, but even as not a streamer, something that you could customize. Like, I don't want to see the obituary. I'm a streamer. It's not. I don't want to show other people. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to see their names. It's not good for my YouTube videos. It's not good for my Twitch streams. Whatever. So being able to customize the HUD experience to some degree, to remove or relocate information, so you can do your overlays. Would be a good thing, and that's on the design list. I saw some early draft stuff on this. Look, the game has to be fun to watch. It's actually a very important agenda item, not just for Blackout, but for the whole game. So those two things are really in service to that fun to watch agenda that we take pretty seriously.
Moving off the wish list, coming back to day one, I know that during the beta, the team tinkered around with different player counts, different collapse speeds.
Yeah.
So let's cut right to the chase. What does player count look like day one?
The most frequently asked question of all, and I can finally answer this question. We wasn't sure how to answer the question, wasn't committed, needed to be sure. So for sure, now you guys can write this one down. Ready? Get Twitter ready. 88 players for solos and duos, and then 100 players for quads. And then, if we do any kind of special events, maybe we can do some fun with the numbers. What divides by 5 pretty well? I don't know.
All right. David, any closing thoughts about what people should be expecting on day one? Or just day one, not day one, Blackout, the whole, you've been working really hard on this for a while, and you're coming off Germany and Sweden. There's a lot going on in that head of yours. Closing thoughts.
It's a couple days till we get there. Thank you so much. Obviously, thank you for the opportunity to represent the game. There's 200 to 300 hardworking men and women who are making this game happen. It's a great privilege to be able to talk about it with you and our fans. And day one will look a lot like the last 7 days and the last 7 months and the last 10 years. right? I think the big difference for us now is thanks to the social community team at Treyarch, we can get in front of players more often, so the developers can stay focused on making these things happen, so that when we come talk to you about them, it won't be any different. This is what we're doing right here, and we're going to go to work, and we'll be back to talk about that things the next time. And thank you, and I can't wait to play. I just want to go home and play.
Actually, I mean, that's probably a great place to leave it for the day, which is, from beginning to end, today really underscored the importance of feedback. So please keep it coming. Keep it coming on Reddit, on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, just all over the board. Should you give feedback? There we go. There we go. I think David's got the answer for us. So listen, thank you for joining us today. Game's out on Friday. We will see you online.